Most people designing a new product for Amazon never order their competitors. They're designing blind, and that is the fastest way I know to design a bad product. In this box right here, I have 3 competing products for our toy. We're gonna open them up, tear them down, figure out what they did right, what they did wrong, and ultimately how we're gonna make our version the best one yet. Let's dive in.
I run an $850,000 a year Amazon private label brand, and I'm publicly building a new product for my brand step by step. And I'm documenting this in real time so you can see the full process as it happens. Here's what I've done so far.
The goal of today's episode is simple. We're going to design the best version of our product, and we're not guessing. We're going to study our competitors. These are our closest 3 competitors: Hape, FatBrain, and Melissa and Doug. Most people who design private label products never buy the competitors. They just look at the listings, they look at the photos, they read the reviews, and they decide they know what that product's all about. Now, in my way of building, if you are using your unfair advantage, like truly using your unfair advantage, that means you actually need to form your own opinions about the product, not someone else's. Because remember, this is how you win. You know this better than most people. That means you have to spend a little bit of money. You have to actually order 2 to 4 of that competing product and review it. Otherwise, we're gonna miss the small details that either make these products great or make them awful. And I gotta be honest with you, we need to know those small details as product designers. Let's start with Melissa and Doug. Now, Melissa and Doug, if you remember, we put this one in Lower Better. This is a well-known brand. Parents love Melissa and Doug. They sell on Target. It's a huge brand. You can tell right away by looking at this product is not designed for Amazon specifically. This product is designed for retail, to show off all the products. We would not do packaging like this on something that we're designing for Amazon. So let's open it up. If you remember, this is the cheapest of the 3. It comes with an empty bottle that they can twist the cap on and off. They made not into a small part. Has a hole in there. It would be fun if you're playing in the bathtub potentially. A squeegee, which you can see has ribs on the back, doesn't feel very quality. It actually does have a slightly rubberized tip, but not blowing me away. A nice small spray bottle. I actually really like this spray bottle. I like the clear. The kids can see how much water is inside, and this would be sized perfectly for a 3-year-old or an 8-year-old's hand. They give you a checkboard, like you're gonna check off which places you cleaned, but you didn't get a marker, so that's not very useful. They have a bunch of safety information, as most toys do. A scrub brush. I think this is interesting. If you're going to include a scrub brush, it's nice that it's really soft, so bristles won't ruin your wall. Has a microfiber cloth to clean. Again, this probably costs 15 cents. So there's a plastic, I don't know, can that is pretend cleaning supply. And the thing that I like about this sponge is it's very small. Like, this sponge is too small really for an adult's hand, but is probably perfect for a toddler or a kid's hand. And then obviously this caddy product, you can see they put the UPC down here. All of their compliance. It's their own tool, so they designed this. All of these pieces have their own branding in there. They're not open source parts. They're molding in a date code, which you need for toys. So I think the pieces I like the best about this are the spray bottle. The sponge is the perfect size. I think it needs to include a cloth, but this cloth I don't like. I don't think these pieces are useful at all. The squeegee, we already know, is not useful from the reviews. I don't think the brush is great. And I also think that this caddy is not really very easy to carry because it has to balance. Better for art supplies. I think this product just came out nice. They do a lot of volume, but I just think that it's meant for very young kids, and it is pretty cheaply done, which we did see in a lot of the comments. I think if your kid really wanted to go and clean the windows, they would probably end up disappointed with this one. All right, second one. Let's talk about Hape. The first thing I'm noticing here on the packaging is that they actually have 3 to 8 written, which is kind of interesting. Potentially they've noticed that older kids actually do still have interest in this cleaning play pattern. I'm not exactly sure that this set is going to hold an 8-year-old's interest. We'll try it out with my son. We'll find out. He's 7. I like that it talks about what the benefits are. It is a quality toy. All of Hape toys typically are very high quality. Clearly they sell this in multiple countries, which makes sense. Hape is German. So that's my quick take on packaging. Obviously also not designed for Amazon. If it was designed for Amazon, it'd probably just be a brown box. Definitely designed for retail. Let's pull the pieces out. So a spray bottle, I like that they use their own color scheme on this. It is their own tool. I have a small bottle. I don't like the label. That's gonna get ruined if they're playing with that in the water. They have a little broom and dustpan, which I don't know how functional that is. It's very small. There's a duster. This is lovely. Like, my kid would love to play with this, but this does not come off. Like, it is glued on there. So once you get this dusty, that's gross. A sponge. This is literally just a regular sponge. Nothing special there. And then a small cloth. I like the little ribbon loop, a microfiber cloth. The bucket here is truly massive. For Amazon, this is a really inefficient way to ship stuff. There's a ton of empty space. I think it needed to be this big to hold this duster, but I actually think the duster design isn't great to begin with. So when you look at this, and this is me doing a very poor job of packing, there's actually a ton of empty space in here that you're paying to ship, store, warehouse, and reship out to the customer. Bad design. I think the other main problem here is that a lot of these parts are made out of wood, which Hape is great for, but wood doesn't really go well with wet play. So that would get ruined pretty fast. And if you actually wanted to clean, there's no squeegee included, which I'm gonna guess is the kid's favorite part. The bucket, I think, is very functional. It feels really sturdy. I like the molded hand grip. I think that kids would really enjoy carrying this. So next up, we'll give this to my kids and see what they do with it. Let's take a look at Fat Brain. Fat Brain, again, this is not an Amazon package. This is definitely designed for retail. It's a cute product, a fun color scheme. It's actually sort of similar to my brand's in color scheme. 3+ cleaning bucket set, photos on the back, all their compliance stuff, and then it lists out all of their pieces on the side. Let's get it out. So it has a little broom and dustpan. Not a very good design at all. Based on how high this lip is, you can't even push your dustpan into the bucket. It has a microscopic tiny squeegee. A duster. I like the design. This piece actually can come off and go in the wash, so that's a win, but wooden stick looks dangerous to me as a mom of a small boy. It's like someone's gonna get thunked on the head. Spray bottle, which you can tell is just an open source part that they stuck a sticker on. I don't like that you can't see it. The sprayer is also more difficult. And then there's two other pieces here, which they must have tucked underneath so they didn't get lost. I don't know why their caddy is 2 pieces. It doesn't make sense it's 2 pieces because it still doesn't have any drainage holes. To me, if you were gonna do this and you wanted a bucket to have a bucket of water, that's wonderful. But then the top part should have drainage holes. You put all the pieces back in and they can actually dry. I like the size of the sponge. Don't like the material of the sponge. It feels really cheap. And then they also have a little microfiber cloth, which I'm gonna guess none of these cloths absorb water. So we're gonna put them all to the test. I think the bucket is completely over-designed for what it is, but this product mostly feels really quality. The wooden handles are a nice touch, although not great for water play. And I think I wish this squeegee was smaller, but I bet it would fit really nice in my 2-year-old's hand. If you remove this part, because it's really not related to like cleaning the windows, a duster, a squeegee, a bottle, a sponge, and a cloth. I think this is probably the closest version to the set that makes sense. A really interesting thing happens when we put all these products together. Patterns start to emerge. Spray bottles are really nice, really designed well for small hands. Squeegees are not really very functional, or they didn't get included at all. The broom and dustpan part isn't really necessary. Cloths are nice, but they need to absorb water to pick up the mess. These buckets are all a little awkward, except maybe this one, and don't have any drainage. This is where product design actually begins, starting with what you know better than everyone else, which means you need to know your competitors better than anyone else too. Okay, so what are we gonna take from these sets to recreate our own better ultimate version? First, we need a bucket. This one's way too big, but this is the closest to what I'm thinking right now. Then we need a spray bottle. I think clear is the way to go here. We're not going to include a broom and dustpan. Doesn't make sense. Random bottles, goodbye. Yes to a sponge, but I think this is the closest execution. Not going to include a brush. We are going to include a duster, but it doesn't have to be a stick design. In fact, I don't think this works best for kids. Ours is going to be washable. We're going to redesign this part. We need a squeegee. This one's closer in that it actually functions. And then we are going to include a cloth, but we're going to pick one that actually absorbs water. You're welcome, Mom. Designing a product isn't just about being creative. It's about finding the gap that already exists and taking apart our competitors' products. Do that. Now that we know what pieces are actually in our product, the next step is to turn this into a real product spec with photos, materials, dimensions, specific information about manufacturing, and packaging. So in the next episode, I'm going to show you how we go from this to actual product spec that your supplier can quote and later manufacture your product with. So if you want to see this idea go from all the way from idea to finished good, you'll want to stick around. All right, let's build something real. I'll see you in the next one.